Welcome to our new course of JavaScript. In this course, we're going to learn about how we can use JavaScript for web application. Before getting into our class, or let's say our practical part of the class, we have to learn about what JavaScript is, why we're going to use JavaScript for web application. So let's get into our presentation. JavaScript, which is a high-level interpreted programming language called JavaScript, is used to make dynamic and interactive online content. Along with HTML and CSS, it is one of the fundamental technologies of web development. Web browsers employ JavaScript to offer features like dynamic updates, form validation, animations, and interactive user interfaces. Additionally, it can be utilized with environments such as Node.js for back-end development. Now, you might think that why we're going to use Node.js for back-end development. Because when you are creating a web application, there are two different, let's say, sections. One is the front end and one is the back end. Now, we're going to learn about the brief of front end and back end. Because it allows for dynamic and interactive user experience, JavaScript is crucial for web application development. It functions on both the back end, which is called the server side, and the front end, which is the client side. Now, to keep it more simple, the server side or the back end maintains all the function and the interaction, or let's say the database. And the front end, which is basically known as the client side, is basically represented on the screen, just like you can see on my screen right now. So, what is the front end? Client side or front end JavaScript uses the document object model, which is known as DOM or DOM in short, to manipulate HTML and CSS. It manages user interactions, including clicks, form submissions, and also the animations. It also makes uses of frameworks and libraries such as Angular, Vue, and also React. Now, most of the libraries which you can see over here, which is Angular, Vue, and React, all of them are also run, or let's say a library of JavaScript. Now, what is the backend? It uses Node.js to operate on the server. It also manages database, which is PostgreSQL, MySQL, and MongoDB. It also oversees authentication and also the APIs such as Google API or even so on. Now, full stack web application. JavaScript is one of the most potent and popular languages for contemporary web development since it allows programmers to create entire online application from the user interface, which is the front end, or let's say the GUI, and the server logic, which is the back end and which maintains all of the data and programming so that it is interactive at the same time. So you don't have to work on two different sections, such as the front end, which is basically the GUI, and also which is the function. Well, JavaScript basically handles both of them at the same time, which obviously saves up a lot of time. Now, why are we going to use JavaScript for web application? Let's check out the advantages. Client-side execution. This technique speeds up app by executing code in the user's browser, reducing server burden. Real-time updates, animations, and interactive features are made possible via interactivity and dynamic user interfaces. Full stack development, suitable for both back end, which is Node.js, and the front end, which is going to work through React, Vue, and Angular applications. Large ecosystem. It provides a wide range of frameworks and libraries to accelerate the development. Cross-browser compatibility. It works without extra configuration on all current web browser. Now, in some cases, when you do some programming for a specific browser, or let's say the most common browser used is Mozilla or maybe like Google Chrome. So what happens is that in some cases when you're creating web application, it does not work on all browsers, such as some applications are there which is going to run on Google or let's say Chrome, but it will not work perfectly on Microsoft Edge. So what happens is that when you work with JavaScript, it works or it is programmed in such a way so that it supports and you have all of the features in all current web browsers. Asynchronous processing. This method loads data without requiring page reloads by utilizing Ajax and the Fetch API. Huge support and community troubleshooting is facilitated by extensive documentation and community support. So now that we know everything about JavaScript, JavaScript used for web application, and also its advantages of why we're going to use JavaScript. So now let's get into the setup of how you'll be able to start web application development using JavaScript. So the first thing that you need to do is you have to make sure that you have Node.js and also an IDE, which can be anything, or let's say I'm going to use VS Code. So first off, let's open up any of the browser which you have on your device. Then to sum it up, JavaScript is a strong and flexible programming language that can be used to create online application, including both front-end and the back-end feature. It is a vital tool for developing contemporary web apps because of its capacity to produce dynamic, interactive user interfaces and its extensive ecosystem of libraries and frameworks. JavaScript is still a popular choice among developers worldwide because of its effectiveness, cross-browser compatibility, and robust community support, which makes it possible to create online applications that are quick, scalable, and easy to use. So as you can see from my screen, I have opened up my browser. Now, the first thing that you want to do is make sure you have to download, let's say, any IDE. So if you're using Windows 10 or Windows 11, so there is a difference between two of them. If you're using Windows 10, you will not have any IDE defaultly installed on your device. But if you're using Windows 11, you will find out that VS Code is already installed on your device. Now, even though if you do not have it, what you want to do is search for VS Code. Hit on enter and then wait for a bit until it shows up on your screen. Just make sure you have a stable internet connection. Then click on the first link, which is also by visualstudio.com. Now from here, just click on download for Windows. Now, if you are using another OS, such as Mac or Linux, there's also versions available for, let's say, other OSs. Okay, you can see there are other platforms. We have Web, Insider Edition, and so on. So you just want to click on download for Windows, and you can see it will redirect you to the link and it will start downloading automatically. After downloading, you want to install it, and you just basically have to follow all the steps it shows you. Okay, that is basically it. Now, as I'm using Windows 11, I already have it installed on my device. If I go off into Windows and if I search for VS Code, you can see it is already available. Okay, now you will also be able to download the zip files, and I would obviously suggest you to download the zip files all the time because it is more safe and secure. Now, another thing that you want to do is you also have to download the Node.js, which is going to work as the backend for your web application. So what you want to do is search for Node.js, hit on enter, and there we go. We have the first link over here, which is nodejs.org. Click on that link, and then what you want to do is you have to make sure you always install the version which has this extension called LTS. LTS basically stands for long-term support. So even if you're using or even if you're changing your device or let's say you are using an old PC and you just shifted to another like newer version of a PC or hardware, it won't matter much. But what happens if you just download the one which does not have the extension called LTS, you might face a couple of errors and a couple of problems. So what you want to do is just click on this download node.js LTS and it will start downloading automatically on your device. It also is a very small file, so it will take like a couple of seconds for you to download on your device. Now, after the whole thing has been downloaded, what you want to do is first off, make sure the code.js or let's say VS Code is downloaded on your device and also perfectly installed. Now, the next thing that you want to do is you have to make sure that you go off into downloads or into the file and then install node.js. So double click on node.js, which is the installation file. And then what you want to do is click on next and then click on accept terms. I'm going to minimize it. Next, and select the default folder or the default directory wherever it is if you don't have any issues. One thing you have to keep in mind is that make sure to always install it on the administrator drive because it is going to work in the exact path and it is also going to enable itself inside of the environment variable. So if you don't want to, let's say, get into more complex steps, just make sure it is also on the default drive. Okay, then click on next. Then the next thing that you can see over here, it shows you that automatically install necessary tools. So what happens if you check it, it's going to automatically install, let's say, additional tools for node.js. But as it is a very simple and basic class or where you will be able to run web application, then I would suggest you do not click on this. Okay, it's just basically going to take up more space over time. Okay, so then click on next and then click on install. It will take a bit of time to show up the status. And what you want to make sure is that you have a stable internet connection throughout the whole time so that it just installs it properly and very fast. So you can see the status has not progressed yet, but just wait a bit more and you will basically see that it will start copying up the data and it is going to start archiving those data very fast. Now you can see we have this over here. Just type in yes, and then it will start installing automatically. Now, as you can see from my screen, that node.js has been installed successfully. Now, if you want to verify it, what you want to do is go off into Windows and then type in cmd. Now, command prompt has been opened up. Now you want to run it as administrator. Now, make sure to obviously put in yes. And then the next thing that you want to do is just type in node. Hit on enter. And if it shows you of the version of the node available, then it means that it has been successfully installed and is ready to go. Now, I'm going to run a very simple command of JavaScript, and I'm going to check if it can run the JavaScript commands. So type in console.log, open parentheses, double quotation, let's say hello. Close off the parentheses and hit on enter. And if it shows you off as hello, that means Node and also JavaScript is working properly. Okay, so basically we are good to go right now. Now the next thing that I want to do is I'm going to, let's say, minimize all of these. And I'm going to create a new folder over here, okay? And that is going to be very simple, okay? So right click over here, and then I'm going to click on new. Click on a folder. Now, the name of the folder that I'm going to be putting in is going to be JS app. Hit on enter. There we go. So I'm going to open this folder up, and I'm going to right click on this, and you can see you can open it up in terminal, okay? You can also click on show more properties, and there are more things. I'm going to click on show more properties. You can see open in terminal, and you will also be able to open it up directly in VS Code. Now, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to search for VS, or let's say Visual Studio Code. Okay, so if you still did not install it properly on your device, I would suggest you go ahead and do it. It's going to help you a lot in the long run. Okay, so there we go. We have this. So I'm going to close all of these off. Now, the first thing that you want to do after VS Code opens up is you have to make sure to open a folder. So I'm going to click on open folder, and then I'm going to go off into desktop. So I'm going to check on desktop, and there we go. We have the JS app. Double click on this, and I'm going to click on select folder. Now, whenever you have selected the folder, you can see JS app is over here. You can see extensions have been modified on disk. Please reload the window. So I'm going to click on reload window, and there we go. It is working properly. Okay. Now, the next thing that you want to do over here on JS app is you have to create a file. So I'm going to click on new file over here. And what you want to do is you just type in, let's say, test.js. Whenever you type in the extension, which is .js, you will basically see that you will have this icon and it will work as a JavaScript file. Now, what you want to do is you have to learn how you can run JavaScript commands. In the same way, I'm going to put in console.log, open parentheses, double quotation, hello, there. Now, at the end, what you want to do is you want to put in a semicolon at the end, okay? Now, first thing what you want to do is you have to save up the file. Now, if you want to run it, how are you going to see? So you have to go off into terminal, then click on new terminal. Now, when you click on terminal, you can see on the right side, we have PowerShell on. Now, there are two different methods of how you can run these commands. It is either PowerShell or it is either the command prompt. We already have seen how we can run it in command prompt, right? So one thing that I want to do is I'm going to right click on this and I'm going to go into here and click on command prompt. Do not click on the plus, but click on the launch profile. Click on command prompt. Whenever you click on command prompt, you'll basically see that we have the exact path of JApp. You can click on control and select on this folder, and you will basically see that the exact folder will open up. Okay, so the next thing that you want to do is you have to type in node and then type in the exact name of the file, which is test.js. Hit on enter, and you can see we have the text called hello there. Another thing that I want to show you is that if you change the text, I'm going to type in giraffe. Now, if I type in node test.js, hit on enter, you can still see we have the previous text being applied, which is hello there. But here we have already typed in giraffe. So that means whenever you are working with, let's say, command prompt, or let's say any JS file in Visual Studio Code, you have to make sure to save up the file first. And now if I type in node test.js, hit on enter, and now you can see that the text has been updated. Now, I've shown you about CMD, or the command prompt. Now, how are you going to run it in the PowerShell? In the same way, type in node, put in a bit of space, type in dot /, type in test.js. That is how you want to type it in. Hit on enter, and there you go. You can see we have the giraffe available and, let's say, represented over there. If we change the text in the same way, we type in hello there. If I run the same thing, node dot / test.js, you can see we still have giraffe. So basically we have to save up the file, type in node dot / test.js, and there we go, we have hello there. Another thing that you have to keep in mind to always put in the dot and /. If you do not put in the dot and / and you try to put in the same way as CMD, try it out and you will basically see it will run in the same way. But using the dot and also the / helps you to actually define where you have typed in the exact representation. Now, also there are other methods of running the same commands. And to make it a bit more easier and to, let's say, reduce our work of coding more, what you can do is you can apply an extension to Visual Studio Code. So just click on this extension file over here and then type in, let's say, code runner. Now wait for a bit and then click on this one, which is exactly that, okay? Then click on install over here and click on trust publisher and install. It will take just a couple of seconds and it will be enabled. Now, whenever you install this, on the right top corner, you can see we have this run code feature. So if I go off into Explorer, click on this test.js, and if I click on this, you can see hello there is being run, which is basically in the output section. Okay, so if we change up the text, or let's say I'm just going to put in hello. If I run this, you can see it is still running hello there. So in the same way, you just want to save up the file and then run it, and you can see we have hello over here. Now, what if you want to create a server, or let's say a node server? So what you want to do first is go off into the browser. Now I'm going to search for a code. Let's say JavaScript code for node server creation. Hit on enter and then click on this first link. Click on this, wait for a bit, and just copy this code. Copy, go off the VS Code, and then you want to paste it right over here. Okay? Now, the next thing that you want to do is obviously save up the file. Now, whenever you save up the file, you're going to click on this run code. Whenever you run this code, you can see it will show you that it is running. So I'm going to click on allow over here, and it's going to just allow JavaScript runtime in node.js. Now, one thing you will see that it is still not opening up. To opening up, or let's say to open it up, what you basically have to do is you need a local host, or which is a URL. So you can go off into the site again and go down, and there we go. We have the local host over here. Copy this, and then what you want to do is create another tab and then paste in that host. There we go. We have hello world being displayed. If I go off into VS Code and if I change this text, instead of hello world, I'm going to say hello there. The code is running. I'm going to save up the file. I'm going to stop the server, play the site again, go off into my browser, refresh it, and you can see the text has been updated. Hello there, the code is running. So this is basically how simple it is to work with JavaScript and how you can get into web application development using JavaScript. So thank you for watching this video up till the very end, and hope you understood about everything in this class. If you still have any confusion or any question, then feel free to ask me anytime. I'm always there to help you out. So without any further ado, let's move on to our first class of JavaScript for web application development.